Assalamu alaikum, hello, good morning, and welcome to World This Morning. I hope you guys are doing very well and you're ready to kickstart your day with myself, Maha Makhdoom. We have a wonderful show lined up for you, and we are going to be touching upon a subject that's very important. But before we get started, because we have a lot to fit in, there's a lot of information we need to share. I am going to first, actually, I want to share a story with you, and it's going to be linked in with our topic later today as well. But let's go and look at the top stories. And then when you come back, I am going to give you a little teaser before you go for a short break. And then I will introduce to our guests. We're changing it all up today, so do stay tuned. Let's take a look. Chinese space achievements are under the spotlight at the Toulouse Space Show in Toulouse, Center of French Aerospace Industry. At the sixth edition of the TSS, China is invited as the guest of honor to exhibit its achievements. Moving on, Sparkling Rainbow Pizza is bringing a touch of bling to the menu at a pizzeria in the California beach town of Santa Monica, west of Los Angeles. The pizza named uh, Magic AF combines a margarita pie with brightly colored edible glitter, which the restaurant terms unicorn puke. That it does not look very appetizing, but it's interesting. And finally, Barbie, the world's most iconic doll, is venturing into coding schools in her latest career as a robotics engineer. The new doll aims to encourage girls as young as 7 to learn real coding skills. Amazing, and that's a change from when I was young. I was a real big Barbie fan, and they didn't really tend to have careers apart from maybe running a parlor or having a beach house. But with that, let's go take a short break, and when you come back, I'm going to link in our topic to the last piece of news as well, because it's all about the internet. It's all about keeping yourself safe, and it's about moving into the 21st century. Let's go take a break. Welcome back, everyone. And before the break, we gave you the top stories, and there were some really interesting things happening around the world. But Barbie is moving on. And the last thing was about teaching girls how to code. And you can't stop anyone from getting involved in technology these days. And what we have seen is around the world is an increase in cybercrime. And as a result, the world is working on cybercrime laws. They are figuring out what is the best way to keep ourselves safe, and as well as not just us, the youth, because they are the ones that are exposed to it. They are the ones that are going to probably having it more into their lives as they get older. Within Pakistan, but before I share this, and this is one story that we don't actually realize falls into cybercrime as well, is that recently, even myself, just yesterday, I got a phone call, and it was someone who told me they were a general from the army, and they wanted my information for the census. And I did not give my information because I just don't give my information out to any person who will ask for it. And I tried to ask him, what does he do? And, where is he from? What does he represent? but he wasn't able to answer, and then he just hung up. This actually is happening quite a lot recently. This is also a public service message that if anyone calls you, do not just give out your details like just willy-nilly, because it is very dangerous, because there's a lot of identity theft, there's a lot of fraudulent activities, and also with the air of these kind of bad elements within the society, you don't want to get dragged into anything like that. So that is something that is also linked and is covered by the cybercrime. Within Pakistan, the National Assembly in 2016 did pass this new cybercrime law, which is the Prevention of Electronic Crimes Act, and after that, we have lots of things happening like fake news, that's a crime, identity theft. And within Pakistan, as a result of the cybercrime laws, the National Response Center for Cybercrime is set up, and the number is 9911. And we will be sharing that throughout the show as well. So to discuss what's happening and also what impact is it having on the students and youth at large, we have been joined by some wonderful guests who will give us a very good insight, the legal, the social, and the education elements. So we've been joined by Osama Khilji. He is a cyber security expert. He represents digital security. He's a director of Bolabi. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here today. Besides Osama Khilji, we've been joined by Huma Rashid. She is a social scientist and a researcher and is currently at Namu University. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Walaikum salam, and thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much for being here today. Besides Ms. Huma Rashid, we have been joined by Hamid Latif. He is an attorney at law and he has been working on the cybercrime element for the last 7 years. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, so I'm going to start with Hamid because he's going to tell us about the laws that are involved, and then I'll move on to Osama. So, so tell us, the Crime Act was passed, Cybercrime Act, but what actually falls under cybercrime within Pakistan? Let's talk about within Pakistan because we live here, so we need to know.
In the very beginning, there was a law, prevention of cyber, you say that in 2007, the very first government of Pakistan promulgated this law, and therefore the time was elapsed and did not pass by the National Assembly and the Senate.
Okay.
Then 2008, it is a progression of the law, and the things was going in Pakistan since long. There's cyber criminals are anywhere in the world. They're targeting the countries where are like developing countries, and there was a need of time to get this law intact in Pakistan too.
Right.
And there are a lot of crimes, but due to no law in the country since 1999. Before then, that it was so much in a big mess of the laws. If I can mention the country's name, like Nigeria.
Yeah.
We are targeting by the Nigeria people all over the world.
Right.
Especially when you say is a crime we call in Pakistan is a 420 and they call 419 crimes.
Right.
There were examples of in 1999, 98, and 2000.
Right.
Then what was the progression of this law came into force? It was 2007, then 2008. Again, it was time lapsed by the officials, and we didn't get the law in the country.
Right.
Lately, 19 August 2016, it was promulgated in the country. The law, the prevention, as you mentioned before, this Act 2016, that contained with a good, I can say it's a good one, but it still needs to get a more section in it. As the date changes, the technology changes. When technology changes, the criminals are more advanced to do the crimes.
Right.
What I suggest here for the people.
Okay, we're not going to get to the solutions first. Okay. So you're jumping right to the end of the conversation. So let's take it in. So we saw an increase in the type of criminal activities because of the growth of technology and the advancement of technology. We're not targeting any specific countries. I just want to make that disclaimer there. But you have all of these kind of examples from different countries who are maybe more technologically advanced or aware, who are taking advantage. And it's not just that one country, it's multiple people from everywhere that are doing it. Okay, so now Osama, you've been working within the cyber security for a while, and you were on our show last time to talk about the different elements, negative elements online. But within Pakistan, do we have an awareness of what cybercrime is? What are you seeing are the habits of people here?
See, so in Pakistan, internet penetration currently stands at around 24 to 25% of the population that's online.
Okay.
And a vast majority of those people are using Facebook also. So Facebook is the biggest social media platform that's used. So certainly every day there's thousands of people, new users signing up to this platform. So with that, obviously there's not that much awareness on cybersecurity. I think the issue is that people are not being taught this at schools or universities either. But I think it's a wider societal problem globally, because technology is something like Mr. said earlier, that it's something so new and it's advancing day by day that everyone's trying to get used to it. So for example, we had political scandals with Cambridge Analytica recently, in which user data was misused for elections. And even technology companies are now finding out the vast impact that the internet can have on people's lives.
Right.
But coming back to cybercrime, I think there needs to be a lot more awareness of what the internet can do. So it's just a medium, it's just like a telephone. You can use a telephone to make a call to help someone, to save someone's life, but you can also make a call like the one you got, in which you're spoofing and in which you're trying to, get information from people in order to misuse it. But there are a lot of organizations such as my own and many others around Pakistan that are working with journalists, working with students, trying to increase this awareness about, what is digital security, how do you stay safe online, and what do you do in situations in which, you're a victim of cybercrime or cyber harassment.
Right.
But I believe there needs to be a lot more effort put into this, especially from the government, especially at educational institutes, because the next generation is growing up with, telephones, with cell phones, with computers, with iPads,
Okay.
and they need to learn how to be safe there.
Absolutely, that's a wonderful point. And so that moves on to Huma, because you are working at a university. So, universities are quite advanced in Pakistan in the sense that some of them do have that financial backing. And they boast that it's international level education. You can go work anywhere in the world with the education. Are they investing in teaching the students about cyber crime or not?
Unfortunately, I haven't seen
Okay.
a lot of investment in this area. What happened in the last couple of years is that we had a large influx of digital devices being distributed to students, and along with empowering them with connectivity. But what we failed to address while doing that was the readiness of the students.
Okay.
Were they ready to be empowered for this connectivity and those digital devices or not? I do understand that in this era it's necessary that students are equipped with these devices, but at the same time what we failed to do was to inform them of what's right, what's wrong, how these devices can be used constructively, and how these can be used destructively, and what things we should avoid.
Right.
We're talking about unawareness regarding laws of cybercrime, but we should also talk about unawareness regarding things that are right and things that are wrong that we should do on the internet
Okay.
and
no,
on digital devices.
Okay, so we're not going to broach onto what the kind of ethics of it, because that will be another show in itself. But let's stick to the criminal kind of laws and the kind of systems that are there and the issues that are being covered under the laws that we don't really know about. So when we were in the brief just before the show, you guys mentioned a few of the different elements that we're experiencing online. So Osama, if you could just kind of highlight a few of the different laws, and then we'll get Hamid to kind of get into the kind of nooks and crannies of the issue.
Yeah, so the the Prevention of Electronic Crimes Act 2016 covers a lot of different cyber crimes. So that includes stuff like hacking, there's spoofing, child pornography, there's stalking, cyber harassment, and also covers things like hate speech and glorification and promotion of terrorist content online. So it covers a lot of like social and as well a lot of technical aspects of technology also, such as like hacking. And the thing is that with the law, all the sections cover malicious intent. So if you're doing all of these things with malicious intent, with the intention to cause harm, then you're likely to be guilty. But what's also interesting is that the law has also criminalized spamming. So if you're getting repeated messages from certain people and you're telling them not to message you and they keep messaging you, then you can actually file, go to court against them.
Oh, wow, amazing.
And
Didn't know that.
similarly, if there are marketing messages from companies that you're being sent repeatedly and
Yeah.
you're not given an option to unsubscribe,
Yes.
or you're telling them, not to, if they're telling you there's a 50% off
Oh my
sale
goodness, so
10
like,
times a
yes,
day,
yes.
so that can actually also fall under this law now. But at the same time, there are some issues with the law as well, because there's some sections of the law that give overbroad powers to the agencies, including the investigation agencies and the PTA, to take down content from the internet.
All right. Okay. So we will talk about that in a moment. But let's go for a short break. And when you come back, we're going to talk about the spamming and the harassment online and through our digital. Like any digital device comes under cybercrime. I'm learning a lot today. So let's go take a break, and then we'll come back and continue our discussion. Talk. Welcome back, everyone. And before the break, we were in discussion with our guests about the cybercrime issue, which is prevalent around the world. But obviously, we're talking about it in relation to Pakistan because this is the country we live in, and we want to also show, what is actually happening here. So before the break, Osama very rightly mentioned a few of the different crimes that are being taken. And I mean, even, I call myself educated, but I did not know half of these things that we're talking about right now. Hamid, tell us, what is actually happening with the practice of these laws? Because we all know then multiple people who are guilty of breaking these laws.
The laws are there. Offenses are in the law. Punishments are there. But people are electing to report this all crimes.
Okay.
I don't know why it is, maybe due to our culture bindings, or due to the practice of the laws agencies in Pakistan, or people want to be. One more thing I want to add here. Actually, we are enjoying these crimes also interestingly on the Facebook.
Right.
We more than crimes, we enjoy these things. For example, defamation of a person,
Yeah.
or you say defamation of a nature personality.
Okay.
While we're looking upon something like against, say songs or something like that contained with the defamation of a person, we are enjoying that one. That's why we are reluctant to report these crimes to the agencies.
Okay.
The punishments are very severe. It starts from 3 months imprisonment to 50,000 rupees to 50 billion rupees to imprisonments, depend upon the nature of the crimes. But what I suggest, being a lawyer, if we start making all these gadgets like positivity in the country, the crime will become on the lower side, and we can make our country on the higher side, because social media
Sorry,
is
so
the
I
best.
don't understand. How can we take the country in a positive?
The progress, because we do most of the countries, not developing, the developed countries, everything is online. Everything is online. And when everything is online, we are getting everything back up from the online. The businesses, the critical infrastructures,
Right.
the religious affairs, the airline affairs, the railway affairs, the ticketing, these offices all over the world. We can make a good financial boost in the country.
Okay.
But we are only enjoying these things. We are enjoying crimes also.
Okay.
and we are not reporting these crimes.
Okay, so now, before I move on to the conversation, I'm going to share a little clip with you guys, and it's all in relation with what we're talking about. It's called "Stealing Your Name, Stealing Your Life," because that is actually what happens. They can take all your money, they can take all your belongings, even your land and all these things, and this is not something that you want to deal with. So prevention is always better than cure. Let's go take a look at this, and then when you come back, we'll continue our conversation.
Armed with just a few bits of personal information, the con artist pretends to be you.
She created accounts for me at all these credit cards. Then I was locked down.
In fact, once your identity is stolen, the con artist becomes you.
It's a lot easier for me to prove that I'm you to get your money than it is for you to prove that it wasn't you that spent that money.
Identity thieves steal from cars, homes, and right from your mailbox.
99% of debit cards that I used were stolen out of mailboxes.
They drain bank accounts, destroy your credit, and generate piles of fraudulent debt.
1 year working with the two partners that I had, we took in about $3 million in merchandise and $1 million in cash.
But for victims, the loss is far beyond financial.
I was so tired of it never ending.
Fraud investigators agree. Identity theft is epidemic, and no one is immune.
The average person will become a victim of identity theft at least once in their lifetime.
Welcome back, everyone. And as you figured out, that was about fraudulent activity online. So, Osama, what is happening within Pakistan regarding these kind of activities?
So there's a lot of different types of spoofing that's happening online, and spoofing is actually made criminal by the Prevention of Electronic Crimes Act 2016 also, which means that if someone pretends to be you, or if someone uses a website to get information from you, right? And this could also include telephone calls such as the ones you received. And in that, they ask you for your personal information such as your identity card number, your CNIC number, or your bank account details, etc. A lot of times they will tell you you have won some money or you're likely to enter a draw to win some money, and that encourages people to share their information. And a lot of times then that information is misused further. A lot of people also get these text messages about the Benazir income support program, saying you've won 25,000 rupees at this many thousand rupees, and it's, I think yes, almost everyone gets it, and they're asking you for your bank account details or your identity card numbers, and then usually there's multiple uses of this data. Either they sell it to other companies that are looking for such information, or they sell, even your telephone numbers are being sold to other people and to other companies, because there are lists of telephone numbers, and then once they get access to it, they're able to send you all these spam messages.
Okay, so we need to be careful actually even when we go into the shops and they're like, give us your details.
Exactly. I usually avoid giving that information.
Yeah, because I never really thought about the confidentiality element of it all. But now we are going to go to a phone call. We have been joined by Mr. Tariq Malik, talking about cybersecurity. He's the former chief of research of GHQ. So we will be taking that in a moment. So now, so as I mentioned already in the beginning, that I did get one of these fraudulent calls as well. So Huma, tell us, students, we're very eager because, we want opportunities, all of these kind of incentives to share our information. What can be done by universities? Like you said, they are not doing enough. So what are they doing already? How can they build on it?
All right, well, talking about the computer sciences departments, you can say that their students and the faculty that they have, they're more informed about cybercrime because it's their area of interest.
Right.
But when you step out of that domain, you see that people are very, very unaware of these things. What our institution, NAML, is also doing is that we're trying to build a culture of civic dialogue between people. Because we've seen a lot of hate speech on cyberspace these days, and especially on social media. I'll refer to the case of a student of a very famous university who recently, demanded for, sexual torture of a female journalist just because her beliefs didn't match with his. So that
Okay.
is a very big example of hate speech online, and that could have incited a really, really big problem
Oh, well,
for that
actually, we've actually
journalist.
seen that already. We've unfortunately seen really sad cases of lynchings happening on universities, and that has started from instigating it from online. But now we have been joined by Mr. Tariq Malik, who is the former chief of research at GHQ. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Walaikum salam, Maha. Nice to hear from you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. So, as you know, we're discussing the cybercrime issue within Pakistan. It's a global phenomenon, but what is actually happening, and what is your take on it?
In regard to Pakistan, as the other participants are saying, awareness is very important. My belief is that at the higher echelons, they believe they understand the problem. But unfortunately, the severity of problem is misunderstood by everyone. I'll just try to give you a layman example, such as water. We all know, and there is a campaign going on these days, that we do have a water shortage problem, and all of us are seeing it with our own eyes. But if you look at it, really, the concrete steps, what has been taken by anyone, whether it's bureaucracy or whether it's civilian governments, none has taken any concrete steps. So exactly the same way, everyone is talking about it, but not really understanding the severity of the problem. As a few minutes ago, you mentioned about the phone numbers, that even your phone number, giving it to any chain and leaving it there, and your email address, you already have given two pieces of information, which is, for argument's sake, is required by a bank to verify it. And the other two pieces, they need your date of birth. Quite often we write that as well. Two other pieces left is your CNIC number and your mother's maiden name. And just imagine one way or another, they'll get that as well. So the discussion is happening. People are saying, yes, it's a problem, but not really understanding what's the severity of the problem. We are still missing the number one, understanding across the board that what is cybersecurity and what sort of issues it brings to us.
Right. So now that you've said that, no, you've highlighted that there's a lack of awareness and we don't actually understand the severity of the situation. But we have been having this discussion about cybercrime for a number of years now, and then we had the Cybercrime Prevention of Electronic Crimes Act that was passed in 2016. Do you think that the awareness has improved a little bit since the act has been put in place, or are we still not going in the right direction?
That I agree. And reason why, that passing the act was a big thing. I am one of those people who went through it in 2013. Just look at it, how long it took for us to get it passed. And the same time, at higher echelons, at least seminars happening, discussions are happening. They're asking the question about the problem. So that's the number one start, and I definitely agree with that. Next step is to actually make people aware of this issue at a wider scale. Just for argument's sake, one of the participants was talking about the Facebook, which is the biggest used media in Pakistan, and the amount of information which we share with Facebook or on Facebook is incredible. Just taking that one social media tool and making people aware of that issue can really make a difference within the country. So again, I will say we are moving in the positive direction, but a lot more has to be done. And people like these guys and few others are lone rangers. These are the people who are trying to make people aware of it. But I'm very glad that you guys have done this program. And these sort of programs need to be done on the Urdu media as well, where whatever information has been shared here shall be shared in the Urdu media, so vast majority of Pakistanis can hear and listen and understand it.
Wonderful. That was actually my next question, but you've answered it already. So thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Okay, so now these are very important elements because actually this is what we always kind of forget. I mean, for me anyway, not for you guys, but we live in the city, so but this is a very kind of, I feel like we live almost like a bubble. So, but there is majority of the people who are outside urbanized areas, and you have people in rural communities, as Mr. Tariq Malik just mentioned. How are we teaching them and trying to protect them, Osama? And then I'll come to you, Hamid, to talk about the laws and their awareness of that.
I think the best way to reach people really is through the medium that you're trying to tell them about. So if you're talking about Facebook that a lot of people are using, then Facebook can also be used to increase that awareness through tools within Facebook. So if you use advertisements targeted at people living in certain areas, and you're promoting posts about digital security, if you're making videos about them, or if you're writing posts about them in order to get their attention to get them to learn this. And the other thing is that now we also need to move towards mediums such as videos and audio rather than text, because a lot of people who are joining Facebook may not be that literate or may not be that prone to reading long things on digital security.
Yeah.
But if they're watching videos or if they're listening to something, they're more likely to listen to that.
Okay.
And then, like we earlier mentioned, through educational institutes that has to be done also. So we ourselves have conducted a lot of digital security workshops for free at universities for students in order to really teach them that, okay, you are online, but how do you protect yourself from the threats that are really there?
Okay.
So that's something that more people need to start doing
Okay.
in order to be safe online.
Okay, wonderful. And Hamid, what are your takes on the rural community, and the protection that they receive or are aware of?
Protection they're receiving, or exactly what you want to say?
About the laws, are they aware about the laws when they go? I mean,
Yeah,
what are we doing
it's
with them?
mostly they're not aware of the laws,
Okay.
because the far urban areas, they have no access to the special these are special laws. A special crime is a high-tech crime, and people don't know how to report this crime in the local areas. They used to go to the same simply police stations,
Yes.
but they are not under jurisdiction by the law.
Okay.
Cybercrime has special jurisdictions up in the police stations with the investigation agency of the Pakistan.
Okay.
We must promote this through newspapers and these TV shows.
And radio as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so Hamid, what is your take on it? Because you're working with the youth, and you have, you interact with people from all different backgrounds, from all different areas. Are they being taught? Do they come back and say, well, this person went through this? Is there any awareness or?
I think that the people who are living in rural areas are more vulnerable,
Okay.
because they're less informed, they don't know about what's happening, and therefore the phishing messages that we get regarding the Benazir Income Support Program or all the lotteries that we're winning every day, they're more prone to fall into those traps. And when they're more prone to fall into those traps, and they're, as Hamid said, they're unaware of even the laws, and they have nothing to do. And plus, we as a nation have become so prone to being exploited that we don't take action anymore.
Yeah, we're the just forget it. Okay, so now because we're in the last few moments of the show, so I want to ask about the solutions. I mean, I think we've already been talking about them with the information you guys have been sharing, but Osama, you mentioned as well before the fake news and the doctored images, and those are actually, that's a crime. But this is a universal thing. We're seeing this fake news element even in developed countries. So what is the solution for it, and what are we supposed to do now?
I think the number one thing that internet users around the world, especially in Pakistan, need to remember is that anyone can put any information up on the internet.
Yes.
So that means that what we should do is not trust everything we read on the internet, not trust every forward message we get on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people are making up things for their own political or other motives, right? So we need to be very careful about what we're believing. Every day people are coming up with, fake notifications, fake resignation letters, fake news items. There's screenshots of, news items that are doctored in order to spread false information.
Oh, wow.
So we really need to look at the source of the information and verify it. So it's a simple Google search. Whatever we see, look it up whether it's true or not. Secondly, we should go to the source of that person. So if it's a news item about a person or a public figure, I would recommend we go to their Twitter account or to their Facebook page and see whether they have really said it or not before we forward that information.
Okay.
And the second thing I would say is that in Pakistan in general, we really need awareness of our rights. So what are the constitutional rights that we get and how do they apply to the internet? So rights such as the right to privacy, right? Is our privacy being violated by people or by companies? Are we giving too much information online for people to steal or to look at? And then secondly, also the right to information to different things. So is information being censored or is information being taken away from us? Is it being controlled? And lastly, the freedom of expression. So are we being allowed to express ourselves the way we want to express ourselves? And are we getting access to information from the press the way it's supposed to be given, or is that being controlled also by people or by others, right?
Okay, this is actually a huge conversation. It kind of goes into everything because freedom of expression and the right to, kind of get your information out there. But so another element that you mentioned was the harassment that we face. Because, I mean, we've done multiple shows on it. I don't know if Shazad was here, he would be rolling his eyes right now. But, it is something that people face on a daily basis, even when they're just kind of stepping out of their home. And, harassment is something that makes you feel uncomfortable, if I'm not mistaken. So online, it's a lawless world. So what about that? Like, what is the solution for that? Because, I mean, I've had multiple proposals from the same people continuously, and I don't know them. They're, it's weird. So, you block and you delete, and my personal information really isn't out there. It is my work that is out there. So what would you say about that?
So
Because there's multiple people out there like that.
So cyber harassment and cyber stalking are actually crimes under the new law.
Right.
So that means that you can actually sue or go to court against people or complain against them to the FIA or to the National Response Center for Cybercrime, which is the NR3C, right? And
Yes.
I think we ran the helpline also,
Yes.
so you can call that also.
9911.
9911.
Yes.
And then there's also the Digital Rights Foundation that runs a cyber helpline, right? A cyber harassment helpline. So it's specifically for harassment. So if you're being harassed, they have psychologists and lawyers who will help you out. And that's, I think, 0800 93939. So you can also call them and they can help you out. But I think with harassment, people shouldn't take it lightly if it's online. Because what has started happening is people think that the online world is different and the real world is different.
Yes.
But the reality is that the online world is as real as any other world because it's a representation of what we do. We're just talking about it online, but it's real people doing it. So if you're getting threats, if you're being stalked or harassed, it's real people, and we should look at it as a real threat and not take it lightly. And I would encourage everyone who faces these issues to report these crimes to the authorities so that in future people are scared of harassing someone online.
Yeah, so until there's consequences, we won't stop our action, right? So Hamid, and then I'll move on to Hamid quickly as well. We're talking about the rights and, all these things are illegal and we should report them. But then if you don't have the financial means to take up the legal cases, how can people protect themselves?
Not only financial issues, there's one more thing I request through this program to the government of Pakistan. We need special courts, the judges who are backed with the IT things.
Okay.
We need investigators, not this ordinary investigators, who know what is exactly the cyber and the crime done on the internet with the source of computer. If someone is not like that, the person, anyone who complains his case will not get his backup of everything. He can't win the case at all because we need special courts, special judges, and the special investigators to get probe in these type of cases. This is a high-tech crime.
That's a very good
Needs
idea.
special, yeah.
Okay, so Hama, what are your ideas on solutions as well? Because with the students, I mean, I don't think they'll have the means to kind of take these cases further, and I'm sure there's a lot of harassment. I'm sorry to assume and generalize, but I'm sure that's happening on university campuses as well.
Yes, it is. And I think this is where universities and institutions should step in to support students. We have our counseling centers, we have psychological counseling as well. And it's interesting, I'll share it with you, that we have an online psychological counseling platform in which students come and can also anonymously share their problems with a counselor. And what happens is the majority of the cases that we're getting in which students are psychologically disturbed is that they're being bullied online, and that too by their colleagues and by their co-friends and other students around them. And this is where the institution should step in. Just as the case as I mentioned before, the student was counseled and he was sent on some public service as a punishment for what he did online.
Wonderful.
And this should be taken as a case, and it should be also implemented by other universities as well. Another thing that I suggest is that youth, especially students, they should also be made aware of more productive ways of expressing themselves. Now, why do we have so much hate speech, and why do we have all of this? Because the youth wants to express themselves, and they just don't have a constructive way of doing it.
But I find that very strange because you're from a university, but that is where all these ideas and all these frustrations should be kind of shared and discussed and then harnessed and refined. So
yes, that should be happening in universities, but as we can observe that we don't have a culture of dialogue.
okay.
Yeah.
We have
Student
hate
unions
speech, yes.
should be legalized in Pakistan so that
Okay.
they can express themselves.
We've actually run out of time, and I was like, oh, we just got to the crunch of the conversation. But thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you.
For coming back. It was nice to have you guys here too, and get kind of a rounded conversation. And next time I will promise you we will focus more on the solutions. But I feel like unless we highlight what the actual issues are, then there's no point talking about the solutions. And because we like to sweep everything under the rug here, everything's fine because log kya kahenge, right? And what are people going to say? But with that, I hope you guys got something out of it. There is the cybercrime number, so you have the National Response Center, which is 9911, and then the other number is 0800 93939. So any information you want regarding cybercrime, log on to our Facebook fan page, which is with the name of World This Morning, our Twitter page, World This Morning without a G, our Daily Motion and YouTube page, World This Morning. The repeat is at 11:05 p.m. And if you would like any more information, please do write to us, because I know a lot of people do suffer from these crimes. And, if you're feeling bad, talk to someone. We will guide you. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you bright and early tomorrow morning. Whew.